what did the Congress want? The Congress wanted that the freedom movement or the success of India's freedom struggle should be attributable only to the Congress. One, two, even within the Congress, some 3, 4, 5 names, not more than that. And that would become the foundation to sort of build the party as a post-1947 political entity. And what did the leftist historians want? They wanted to rewrite history in a manner that it would sanitize our past. It would remove all the creases, all the fault lines, and it would come out as a sparkling story with no blemishes. And here also there was a meeting point. The Congress did not want, because of this great sort of enterprise to project the Congress as a secular and a secularizing force, they were okay with the idea of allowing the leftist historians to distort history to the extent that it would serve their purpose. Now, I will just give you a couple of examples. For instance, the rewriting of Mughal era history. Now, if you read R.C. Majumdar's work, and then if you read the work of the Aligarh historians, especially Dr. Irfan Habib and others, and then Romila Thapar, and then you move on, you will find a stark difference in the approach. So, whereas R.C. Majumdar tried to tell the story from documents of that period, from court records of that period, our eminent historians decided to reinterpret facts in a manner it would suit their purpose. So Aurangzeb was not a great destroyer. Aurangzeb became a great administrator. Aurangzeb was not a plunderer. He became a great manager of finances. Similarly, if you go a bit beyond back in time, this whole thing of our being fed with the idea of Akbar the Great. Now, if you read various records of Akbar's reign, he was as scheming, as bloodthirsty, as cutthroat as any other Mughal. So what makes him great? And one could go on and on and on. The Irfan Habib, I remember when Sunday was still around and it was the top-selling magazine of the country. If I recall correctly, Irfan Habib had given an interview to that magazine where he said that my job is to reinvent. Maybe he didn't use the word reinvent, but he meant that. My job is to reinvent history and present it in terms of and sort of, it should be an economic interpretation. So I will look at the economics of Mughal rule. I will not look at the politics of that era. Now, if you look at the works of Romila Thapar, she actually wrote an entire book saying that Somnath was not demolished because it was a shrine that stood for Hindu faith, or that it was one of the most revered shrines of Hindus. That entire book is sort of a very convoluted attempt to legitimize the repeated destruction of Somnath, because the destroyers merely wanted the gold of the temple. They were interested in the money. Now that is balderdash. We all know that. Today is Janmashtami. And we all know what happened to the original Krishna Janmabhoomi Mandir. It was demolished and a Eidgah was built on top of that by Aurangzeb. But we don't talk about these things. These are very discomforting facts. And like in Ayodhya, the constant argument was, where are the facts? Now, when the facts were presented one by one, the leftists kept on changing their goalposts. So first they said, where are the facts that there was a non-Islamic structure on which Babri Masjid was built? So when those facts were presented, they said, where is the evidence that it was a Hindu structure? When those facts were presented, then they said, where is the evidence that it was actually destroyed? And that argument applies to every bit of history writing. And the reason I strongly feel that the state should have nothing to do with history writing is because we will keep on swinging from one extreme to the other. And if you read Arun Shoury's book, The Eminent Historians, it was not only ideological, it was also to do with bread and butter. So historians who were sanitizing India's history were actually also on the take, because huge sums of money would be sanctioned. Those projects would never be completed. They would drag on for years. Fresh money would be sanctioned. They would again drag on for years. And God alone knows what came out of those projects. So it is something which we should be concerned about. It is something which we should be worried about. And last 2 seconds, which I would need to mention something. I think Vikram mentioned something about the sannyasi revolt, if I'm not wrong. Now, if you look at something like the sannyasi revolt, we just don't have a correct history of sannyasi revolt. What happened? What prompted it? Why did the sannyasis go on the warpath? Now, without a correct story of the sannyasi revolt, what have we done? We have labeled Bankim's book Anand Math, which is based on the sannyasi revolt, as being anti-Muslim. So, it's like there are tales within tales within tales as to why history was distorted in so grotesque a manner. And somehow I think we are yet to get a full measure of the extent of the distortion, the wickedry that that was behind this distortion and how to prevent it moving forward.